So in yesterday's demo, I was looking at using the range object on the window in order to detect the runtime line breaks of text within a text node. So if we look at this paragraph, what you can see is that it's, well, you can't see it super obviously, but what you can see here is that it's just a single line of text. There's no inherent structure going on here. And yet, because of the browser's layout, that text is rendered with line breaks. And I showed yesterday how we can detect those runtime line breaks by using the range object to iteratively traverse the characters and find the client rectangles that surround the individual lines of text. Now, that's a fun experiment, but it doesn't necessarily lend to any particular use case. So I wanted to do a fast follow here to demonstrate how I'm using this, or I intend to use this in order to render multiple lines of text to a canvas element. So let's jump to our next demo. So here I have two elements side by side. And if we look at the DOM, you can see that we have a paragraph tag just as we had in the previous demo. And again, there's no inherent structure here. It's just a single line of text. And then on the right, we have a canvas element. And right now the canvas element has nothing rendered to it. And what we want to do is when I hit the render to canvas button, we want to find the runtime line breaks of this text so that we can draw each line of text individually over to this canvas element. The canvas 2D context has no concept of wrapped text. It has a fill text method which renders a single line of text at a particular XY coordinate. So if we want to render multiple lines of text as a cohesive block, we have to do that programmatically, meaning we have to find each line, render each line in turn, increment the Y offset, and then add the subsequent lines. So let's go ahead and do this. Render to canvas, and you can see again, this is a canvas element here. So what we've done are take the runtime line breaks of this single block of text, use that to determine the individual lines, and then draw those individual lines to the canvas object. And again, because this is using runtime styles, if we, for example, come in here and we could change the, let's say, font family is papyrus, and font size is 30 pixels, and line height is 40 pixels, and the color is fuchsia. And now we hit the button again, you'll see that that is again rendered to the canvas. And that's because we're taking the runtime line break detection, extracting the individual lines, then drawing those individual lines to the canvas. All right, let's take a quick look at how this happens behind the scenes. So here's our source paragraph, and here is our canvas. And if we just jump down really quickly, you can see that we have the extract lines from text node that we had from yesterday's demo. This entire function has been brought over as is. I haven't touched it at all. What I've done is added this render sample node to canvas. So when we click the button in the demo, it's going to call this method. The first thing this method does is extract all the individual lines of text. So that again is using the runtime rendering of this text, getting each one of these lines and returning this as an array of lines. From that, we get the dimensions of the elements so that we can apply it to the canvas. We get the runtime styles, that's the color, the font size, the font weight, the line height of the text. We resize the canvas. We set the fill styles of the text, so the color, how it aligns with our XY coordinates, the font family, weight, etc. Now, again, because Canvas has no concept of wrapped text, we have to explicitly provide a Y coordinate in our fill text method. So we're going to do it at the 0x offset, and we're going to do it at this particular Y offset. So what I'm doing is taking the current index of the line, which is 0 based, I'm multiplying it by the line height, so it should increment vertically down the canvas, and then I'm adding this initial offset. And this is basically just to try and center the text within the line height. And this is very quirky from a cross-browser standpoint. But again, this post really isn't about how do we render perfect canvas. It's here's a use case of runtime detection of line breaks as applied to a particular problem space. So once we have all of our context, our canvas context styling set up, we just loop over those individual lines, which we extracted from the runtime line breaks, draw them each on their own at a different Y offset. And again, we get our canvas rendered. And let's just refresh the page one more time. Render the individual lines to the canvas. Pretty nice. Rendering canvas stuff. Rendering lines of text to canvas has a lot of really funky edge cases. For example, there's no inherent way to take in letter spacing into account. So if you want to do letter spacing, you have to get way more complicated. And the different browsers have different meanings for what the text alignment is. So again, this is not about canvas itself. This is about how I was using the line break extraction from the previous demo.